Hi everyone, this is the intro to factoring quadratics. So this is going to be your step one. So when you do your work, I want you to label your A, B, and C. You're going to multiply A times C, and then you're going to circle B, okay? So let's go ahead and get into what that looks like, okay? Here is our first example. So we have a trinomial. 1, 2, 3 pieces. And our first piece has an x squared. Our second piece just has an x. And our third piece does not have a variable. Okay? So if there are 3 different pieces, we know that this one is going to be our A, this is going to be our B, and this one is our C. Okay? So it really looks like A is like whatever that number is, x squared plus B, and that's whatever that number is, x plus, and then C, whatever that number is, okay? So now that we've kind of identified that this is A, this is B, and C is this one right here, we're just writing our numbers here, okay? So as I'm looking at our A, we do not have a number here, so that means that's our imaginary 1. So A is going to be 1, B is going to be 6, and C is going to be 5. I'm not writing any letters with any of these. These are just the numbers, okay? Because it's A goes with a number, B goes with a number, C goes with a number. So we have done our A, B, and C. And then we're going to multiply A times C. So A times C. So 1 is A times C is 5. And 1 times 5 equals 5. And then I want you to go back and I want you to circle B so you can identify B, because this is going to be important when we move on to our next step, okay? Let's look at another example. So we have this one down here. Same thing, we have our A because it goes with a variable squared, B because it goes with just this plain variable, and C here. So we don't have a number here, so we're just going to put our number in. And A goes with 1. B is going to be the entire number, right? Number, -5. So we're going to write -5. And C is going to be the whole thing, -14. We take the sign with it, -14. So now we're going to do A times C. And A is 1 times C is -14. I'm sorry, let me rewrite that number. -14. And 1 times -14 is -14. And then I want you to go back and I want you to circle B. Let's come back up and look at another example. I'm going to erase these examples. And we're going to look at another example. Okay, so we are going to do, let's see, 7x squared minus 31x minus 20. Okay, so let's go ahead and identify what our A, B, and C is and what our A times C is going to be. Okay, and we've got like the base format written out to the side here. So this one's got a variable squared, so we know this one's going to be A. This one just has the variable, so this one is B. And this one here has no variable, and that one is C. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at our A. Our A is 7. Our B is negative 31, taking the sign, and our C is negative 20. Okay? Now our A times our A is 7 times our C, which is negative 20. And 7 times 20, negative 20, 7 times negative 20, because our negative 20 is going to be negative 140. So that's your A times your C. And then let's go back and circle B. Okay? Let's look at another example. Let's look at one like this. So we have x squared minus 64. Okay, so we need to identify our A, our B, and our C. And then do our A times C. Okay. So what I notice about this one is, how many pieces do I have? I only have 2 pieces, okay? So I know that this one with our x squared is going to be A, but there is not one in the middle with just one variable. And then we've got this one, which is our C. So if we were to rewrite this, because we need our B, right? So we're going to rewrite this as x squared plus, and we don't even have our B. That would be 0x minus 64. We need to make sure we have all 3 pieces. Okay? So essentially, our A is 1, our B is 0, and our C is negative 64. So our A is going to be 1, our B is going to be 0, and our C is going to be negative 64. And we're going to go ahead and do our A times our C. Our A is 1 times C, which is negative 64. So our A times C is negative 64. And I want you to go back and circle your B.